All right, now there are so many questions about apraxia. It can occur in a number of different forms, including the one that Chris was diagnosed with, which was apraxia of speech. Well, here to tell us more about this condition is Craig Selinger. He's a licensed speech-language therapist and also the owner of Brooklyn Letters. So, Craig, thank you for coming in. We just heard about Chris's story. Now, there are so many different forms of apraxia and apraxia of speech. Can you go through what are the different types of apraxia of speech for people at home who don't know? Because I didn't know a lot about this.
No, thank you for covering the story. This is wonderful. Yeah, in terms of apraxia of speech, there are two types. One is childhood apraxia of speech, and if you Google it, you'll see dyspraxia, developmental apraxia of speech. It's all the same thing. And then there's a second type, which is called acquired apraxia of speech. So let's say you're an adult, you have normal speech, you're in a car accident, you sustain neurological damage to your brain, and your speech is disrupted. That could be acquired apraxia of speech.
So it can happen later on in life, too.
Absolutely.
Now, what are some of the symptoms? What should parents look out for?
Yeah, so at Brooklyn Letters, what happens is parents typically, they'll contact us because they're concerned. So particularly for kids that are under 3 years of age, it's really hard to know if the child's has apraxia or not. So the most important thing I tell parents is that if you notice that your child has a possible speech-language delay, the child should be assessed. So for example, your baby is not babbling like other babies. Your child is slow to acquire sounds or words. At 24 months, your child is saying 50 words or less, not combining words. You should see a speech-language therapist. Now, what happens at 36 months or 3 years and above, some of the characteristics of apraxia become more evident. So one could be inconsistent errors with sound. So for example, let's say a child is speaking and they say dad, maybe they say dad or dud or did. Like the vowel is just very inconsistent.
And what about their also the speech, the patterns of rhythm of speech?
Absolutely. So kids that are speaking, for example, and they say dad, they may have difficulties transitioning from the D to the ah. So maybe d, ah, and maybe they stop there. So it could be very slow, very difficult. As Christopher's mother said, they know it up here, but it's a motor planning problem. So the signal from the brain somehow is disrupted to the articulators.
And how do you treat this and where you are?
Absolutely. So the most important thing is, one is early diagnosis, which is crucial. And then you have to figure out which sounds to work on, which consonants, vowels, teaching consistency. And then once the child is consistent with their sound repertoire, you teach words, and you build up the phrases and sense if the child's verbal. Like Christopher, who's nonverbal, you need alternative means. These kids have a lot to communicate. And it's really important that you give them those alternative means to help them speak in a way.
All right, Craig, thank you so much for giving us some insight on this.
Of course,
there is also National Apraxia Awareness Day. It is May 14th, so if you want to learn more about this disorder, the services that Brooklyn Letters offers, that Chris does, or if you want to donate to Chris's charity, you can log on to pix11.com and click on that morning news tab. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you so much.